You're listening to Small Business Talk with Jerry. Sit in on great conversations with entrepreneurs who risk everything chasing the American dream.
Hey everybody, back with Small Business Talk with Jerry, part of Small Business Referral Group. Today we want to welcome Denise Fry. She is with us today. She's from CarePortal. It's one of our nonprofits in SBR Group. So we'll say hello to Denise. How are you?
Hi, Jerry. I'm doing good.
Good. Thanks for coming out tonight. Denise has been here before. We haven't aired her last one yet, so I guess we'll see how this all plays out. But she was here with two others, Tiffany and Dave, before. So you're familiar with this.
Yes.
Great. Well, last time we kind of talked about the nonprofit industry, which came off the rails a little bit just because there's so much to it. Yeah. So what I'd like to do today, if you're comfortable with that, I'd like to chat about you a little bit. Who's Denise Fry, and where did you come from?
Yeah. Been around a while. I was born in the Detroit area.
Okay.
Always wanted to get out of Detroit, though. So Rochester is a really good-sized city for me. I went to school for electrical engineering, so I actually have an engineering degree, and most of my career was with IBM.
Okay.
Met my husband through IBM. He was IBMer. So we moved to Rochester in 1990 after starting out in New York State with IBM.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, we love it here. And worked 28 years with IBM. Okay. All kinds of different jobs. All kinds. I think I had 19 different jobs in 28 years.
Wow.
So I kind of like change.
That's a lot of moving around.
A little bit unusual. Thrive on change. But then, all in Rochester, so.
Sure.
But different departments. And after retiring early, my husband and I started a custom cabinetry business.
Oh.
Here in Rochester. It was just word of mouth.
No, I did not know that.
Built cabinets out of our home. Out of a garage, built a garage,
Sure.
Another garage, so we had room to build more cabinets.
Right?
Did some pretty big kitchens.
Yeah, awesome.
And it just, he's very talented. And then I learned a lot too, but most of it came from him. And I learned Revit, which is a CAD program, so that I could create the designs as a rendering, looks like a photograph.
Sure.
So that the customers could see what they wanted before we even bought, a stick of wood. So that was very useful because some people thought they knew what they wanted. And then they'd see the picture and it's like, oh. So
yeah, and it's way better to do that than to have it done and go,
Yeah.
Right.
And the program was really great. The cabinets would look just like the photograph.
Really?
So that was fun. And
Good.
not many cabinet makers do that.
Yeah.
Not many. But that was fun. So when I retired from IBM, I really liked not doing anything for a while. It was very relaxing.
Sure.
But then I felt like I was going to lose my brain because it wasn't being worked at all.
Yeah.
And so the cabinet design was good and the Revit to use that. But then as we got older, the cabinets got heavier. I don't know. And so... And my husband was getting a little more distressed with timelines and everything. Sure. So we decided to just slow way down. For a year, we did work for Haley's.
Oh, okay.
Building mantles and custom cabinets, like built-ins around a fireplace.
Sure.
And that turned out to be more than what they originally said because they liked our work too. So we retired from that after a year. And that's when I got more involved with CarePortal.
Okay. What year was that?
That would have, 2021 was when, we started our business in 2015 and went 8 years. 2021 was when we started CarePortal in Rochester in Olmsted County.
So CarePortal wasn't here prior to you in our area?
No, I was in from the beginning.
Okay.
And then it would have been, I'm losing track of time now. It was just last year actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 2023 when we decided to slow down totally. Like on our website it just says, I'll still do design work.
Okay.
Because that's lightweight work.
Sure, right.
And Craig, my husband, will do some small cabinets, little jobs. He likes little jobs. He doesn't want to just sit around. So
sure.
If anyone has any little jobs,
right.
Fry Designs.
Right.
Yeah, we still have the company. And there was life happened. We had to take care of his brother for a while who had dementia all of a sudden. And it was, And then Craig got prostate cancer. And so there's, like, I didn't jump into CarePortal right away till we kind of got through that.
Sure.
And so it was pretty much about a year ago when I got more full-time into, I started as a point person for our church. And now I have the ambassador role for Olmsted County.
Okay. So CarePortal's only been in Rochester for a year or a little more.
2021.
2020.
So 3.5 years now.
3.5 years in Rochester, but you've been doing it kind of more in the last year.
Yeah.
So how old is CarePortal? Did it start in 21 as a company also?
Started in 2025, and I was going to give you a little background about
2025 is next year.
2015. I knew there was a 5 in there. You're listening. That's
Indeed,
good.
I am listening.
2015. Yeah, just 9 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, so not that long, really not that long ago.
So I was going to tell you a little story of how it began because it's quite interesting, I think. So the foster care crisis, if you Google foster care crisis, one of the main issues that comes up is that there's not enough foster parents for the 400,000 kids that are in foster care every year.
Right.
And back in, well, first of all, besides the fact that there's 400,000 kids in foster care, there's also statistics that say 50% of the homeless, 60% of sex trafficking victims, and 75% of those incarcerated spent time in the foster care system. So it's just a huge societal issue that I'm sure the country's been focused on for a long time.
Yeah.
Back in the late 1990s, there was a small town of Possum Trot, Texas, where a small church decided they wanted to do something about it, and 22 families adopted 77 children out of the foster care system.
Wow.
That by that time, when they got through that, there was no kids in foster care that needed adoption within 100 miles of this church.
Wow.
And that was the inspiration for Adrian Lewis, who started CarePortal. He was very inspired by that story. And if you haven't seen The Sound of Hope yet, it was a movie. Well, it's not in the theaters anymore, but when it comes to streaming, it's called The Sound of Hope, and it's all about the Possum Trot story.
Oh, okay.
Hollywood made it. It's very well done. Kind of a tearjerker, but it's very real about what it would like to be a foster parent and all the the ups and downs. And so Adrian Lewis was inspired, and he lived in Kansas City, and he wanted to do the same thing. He wanted his church to adopt all these kids out of foster care, and he said it failed miserably.
Oh no.
After 3 years of trying. But what he learned was that most kids go into foster care not because their parents are bad parents, but that they're living in poverty and they don't have the financial resources to give their kids what they need to keep them safe, like just even beds.
Sure. Or
they've been homeless because of poverty. And 70% of the kids in foster care are kind of in that situation. That it's not their parents are good, they just don't, they're poor.
So there's not an abuse or neglect scenario. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Adrian kind of pivoted a little and wanted to kind of take that approach. Well, how can we help these families living in poverty so their kids don't have to go into foster care? And that's really what CarePortal is all about. It's like preventing. It's like addressing the foster care crisis, but from the prevention perspective.
Sure.
The idea that if we can help the families proactively when they need when they need beds or a couch to sleep on, or extermination because they have bed bugs and they don't have the money to spend on an exterminator, that that would help to keep the kids with their parents, which is always, if they're not abusive, it's always the best choice.
Right, if they're good people. Right.
I mean, just because they're poor doesn't mean it's still a good choice.
Right.
Because kids just want their parents.
Yeah.
So 2015, they actually started CarePortal in a church in Texas because the Possum Trot story was in Texas. So the state of Texas was already bought into this concept.
Sure.
And that was very successful. And then he kicked it off in Kansas City. It is now in 9 years. It's in 35 states.
Wow.
582 counties. And it's managed county by county, which is really cool. So if you sign up for CarePortal so that you get the app, it's a website or app, you can see the requests all over the country. But the default is that you see the requests in your county, local to you, so that your money, because most people like the idea that their money stays local and they're helping local families.
Absolutely. So okay, with that, tell us how it works. I mean, we have an app and a website, and you can look at everything, but you can focus on local if you want. How does that work? What do you do?
The heart of CarePortal is the church. The church is kind of in the middle where, there's so many aspects of it.
Sure.
Let me back up a little.
Let me say that. Let me ask you questions then. So if I want to get involved and I want to, what do I do? Do I buy a bed? Do I write a check? Do I donate clothes? Do I go on the website? Tell me how to approach someone. Yes. How do I do that?
So when you sign up for CarePortal, so you create an account. If you want, you can go out and look at requests, but if you really want to help one of them, you have to sign up so we know who you are. And you can always donate anonymously. So, but the system gives you a tax receipt. So, Big Brother needs to know who you are, but we don't need to know who you are.
Right. Absolutely.
And the requests come in, they're all vetted by a child serving professional, which is really cool that we know their real needs. Most in Olmsted County, 95% of the requests come from the child welfare system. So Olmsted County Community Services. So child welfare, these families needing help, have a social worker, a caseworker, that caseworker knows these guys need a bed. So they'll put a request in.
Okay. And
then whether you're a church or a business or just an individual who has signed up, because anybody can sign up as a group or an individual, we all get an email notification or, an app notification if you set it up that way. So, every time a new request comes through, you get notified.
And a request meaning somebody needs something.
Yeah, so it'll be for one specific family, and you always kind of get a little bit of the story, like why do they need this bed? They were homeless, they escaped domestic abuse, or they need furniture. There's all kind of, so you get a little backstory, and you find out how many kids are involved and how many adults, and a lot of them are single moms or single dads. Every once in a while there's a couple, but you find out how many kids, and then you get an itemized list of what they need.
Okay.
Sometimes it's bikes so that the teenager can get to work.
Okay, sure.
It really ranges. And then as a participant, you get to choose. Do you want to help that family or do you want to wait for another? And right now we have 17 open requests with unmet needs.
Okay.
There's been an explosion. I don't know what it is, but we used to be able to keep up with the open requests where maybe they'd stay open for a week or two. But we have some that have been open for a month, and I think that the word is just getting out with the social workers and caseworkers that more and more are putting requests in because it's been really a successful program. In fact, I was talking to a social worker the other day, and she said CarePortal helps her relationship with her family that she's serving. And I'm like, well, how does that work? And she said, well, if they need, because sometimes families don't they don't like the idea that they need a social worker, that they need help. And so there's some animosity there, even though the social worker's there to help.
Right.
So if they need, a bike, use that example, and the social worker says, hey, I can put a request into CarePortal, and, the responders there's 175 right now in Rochester, in Olmsted. We'll try that, see if someone wants to get a bike. And so then when CarePortal meets that need, it gives her credibility with the family.
Right.
That she actually does care and follows through and gets stuff for her.
That's awesome. We were just talking before we started the episode was we spent the weekend camping, and we camp with a couple, and she's a social worker, and we had talked to her beginning of summer, so probably been a month or two ago now, maybe 2 months ago, and she works with Homestead County. Had never heard of CarePortal. So we turned her on to that. Heather and I were chatting with her about that, just saying. So hopefully she's one of the new ones on your list, I'm hoping. And in her office, she said, I'll have to ask about this and see who's using them or who's doing this. So
yeah, if she works with kids, like all the requests need to have kids involved.
Sure. Yep. Right.
That's just kind of because of the foster care start. That's kind of the criteria.
Sure.
So
now with requests, we keep using the term requests. So, I guess without naming names, of course, but pick one that you're familiar with. What's needed for one family that you can think of?
There's quite a few right now where they need beds, twin beds and toddler beds, and we have storage that we pay for. We get a discount at Classic Storage. Nice discount. Thank you. Classic Storage.
Yes.
And we have 2 units there. And so we'll accept donations. So that's another way anybody can help. Anybody. You don't even have to sign up for CarePortal. Not cash donations. Gift in kind. Well, we'll take cash too.
Sure, yeah.
But I was talking about gift in kind donations. Okay. There's not many, if any, that will take beds. But if you have a bed that's not broken, it's not stained, it's pretty good, you just are upgrading or somebody's downsizing.
Sure.
We'll come and get it.
Kids are moving out.
Yep.
Empty nesting.
The ones what we like to keep in storage because they're commonly requested are beds, couches, kitchen table and chairs, even like silverware and pots and pans.
Oh, okay.
There's quite a few requests where the family's been homeless. The county helps them get a place to live, and now that they don't have anything.
But it's empty.
So just really basic lamps, end tables. It's not exciting stuff, but you need it.
Yeah, but necessities.
And then when they ask for a bed, we always provide bedding and new pillows.
Sure.
And some of these kids, they never even had a pillow. They use their coat. They don't even know what a pillowcase is. So but bikes, like I said, there's been some dumpster requests. Like the place is so full of junk. Oh. It's not safe for kids. Sure. And they need help paying for that. Sometimes they're getting behind with utilities or rent. So car repairs.
Sure.
Yep. You've helped a little with those.
Yep, we've done that. Absolutely.
So it really ranges a lot, but the beds, the furniture are the biggest, probably number one.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question that I know the answer to, but I want you to fill in everyone. So let's pick the one you were just talking about, and they need a single bed, and I want to help, but I don't have a single bed to give. What do I do?
You can fund a bed. The purchase of a bed. And so in the tool, the app, you sign in, you go to the requests, and like I said before, everything is itemized, and it actually has a built-in sort of value. So the bed, it might say $180 for a twin-size bed. So you can, if you have actually the bed, you provide it.
Okay.
Is one of the options, or you fund it, and that's where you can put your money. It'll take a debit or credit card.
A Visa, and if I don't have a bed, then
you can fund it,
and you can even
fund. You can fund half of it.
Sure.
There's a minimum, but you don't have to even fund the whole thing.
Sure, but you can get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Okay, so then where does that money go? How does that money turn into a bed?
Good question. So like
I've done this before.
Started to say was at one point. So the church, so the way it's, I said there's churches, businesses, individuals, but it's really built around the churches are the ones that take the lead.
Okay. They can organize things. They're the hub.
So we have 9 churches right now, and across the country,
Just in Olmsted County?
Just in Olmsted County.
Fantastic.
And some are more active than others. That's a very common phenomenon. But there's 9 churches there's a lot of churches also that want to join and are looking for a good point person to kind of take the lead within their church.
Within the church.
Because the church does play a big role there. It's someone in the church that always connects with the family to do the delivery.
Okay.
Because
Sure.
beyond the physical item, we're also trying to create a connection and connect a lot of the families. We help a lot of families new to Rochester
Okay.
that don't know anybody. And if there's, it doesn't happen all the time, but we
Yeah.
always offer that ongoing support of if you need something else or you need to talk or if you need prayers. That connection is a huge part, and more the social workers realize that that's also what CarePortal offers, because
Sure.
a lot of their families are kind of in isolation or they don't have other people that can help.
Yep.
And if if they ask for something big, we just ask them to go back to their social worker to vet it out to make sure it's
Sure.
a legit need.
So I'm going to reel you back in
Yeah.
to the question. How does my $180 donation turn into a bed?
So I'm getting there. So these churches, and that if you have, it's an option. Not every church needs to do this, but
Sure.
4 of our churches, which are the 4 of the most active ones, we have a debit card, CarePortal debit card. And when anybody, whether it's in the church or the community, funds a request, it goes to all the churches that say, hey, there's somebody wants to fund this. Who wants to take the lead?
Okay.
And as soon as we claim it, I'll take the lead on that request. Then that money gets just immediately transferred to that
To
church.
your card. Or
Yeah, if it
whoever
was me that
the
took
lead.
the lead, I'd go to my credit card. And then as multiple people fund it, it accumulates in there. And then I can just go to the Mattress Firm. Also gives us a good discount on beds.
Fantastic.
Yay, Mattress
Yes,
Firm.
Thank you, Mattress Firm. Absolutely.
And we can go to Mattress Firm with the credit card and buy the bed.
Okay. And then do you have trucks? Do you ask for volunteers? How does the bed then get from Mattress Firm
Yeah.
to the people?
That's part of what a point person does, or even as a ambassador for Olmsted County. Part of what I love about my job is working with the churches and the businesses and connections are everything.
Sure. Yeah.
And they really change things. And so it's not only connecting with the families, but churches are working together and churches are working with businesses and the county is working with churches.
Right.
It's
Right.
really a miracle in some ways.
Well, the last repair we just did, not that long ago, that was a joint effort between
Yes.
between CarePortal and the Olmsted County Social Services.
Yeah, to pay for the
Yep.
total repair. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. That was very nice.
Yeah, so it's really cool.
Yeah.
And everybody, I mean, even if all you do is pray for the family,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people they don't have a lot of funds and they,
Sure.
they've already downsized or whatever. But the other way someone can help is just in a delivery. And even though the church is kind of the focal point, and it's also like as the community responds, the social worker just deals with a point person for the lead church.
So if I have a pickup or a trailer or something like that, I could reach out and say when you need a bed or when you buy a bed from Mattress Firm or when someone donates, because that would be another thing. If
Yeah.
I donate the bed, how does it get from me
Right.
to them? Am I responsible for getting it there? Or, if I had the bed to give,
Yeah.
then how does that get to the family? Is that on me?
Usually
or-
we'll come and get it,
Okay.
but if the person with the donation has a truck and wants to help with delivery, or sometimes it's ahead of the need, so they'll come and bring it to
Bring it to
storage,
storage.
or we'll come and get it and put it into storage. And as we call them community champions, are businesses that sign up to be a CarePortal champion.
Mm-hmm.
And Service Pros Plumbing is one of them. And so they not only donate funds and donate, a high chair or something that they might have had.
Sure.
But Mark over there lets me use his 2 guys, Cal and Vince,
Yep.
if I need help with the delivery, because they're
Good.
young muscles. I'm always looking for young muscles in trucks.
Yes, absolutely.
I can book them on work time to go help with a delivery.
Very nice.
And that is really a cool, I hadn't even thought of asking a business to do that, but he
Sure.
just offered it. And so it's just a way to give back to the community as a business. That's really cool. So there's just all different kinds of ways some people just like shopping.
Sure.
So they'll take the money that's been donated and they'll do the shopping and then someone else can do the delivery.
Sure. Well, we talk about this in SBR all the time, SBR group all the time, of turning your unproductive time into productive time. We have meetings at 7 a.m. Well, that's a good time. And yeah, when you look at something, if you're service pros, for instance, if your guys are twiddling their thumbs and you don't have the phone's not ringing off the hook, I mean, that's a great way. The name is on the trucks. Let's get that out there. It helps you. It moves the trucks around. They're not sitting in a McDonald's parking lot for an hour or 2 or 3. It kind of keeps everybody moving. So that's great for everybody.
And then Metcalf Moving and Storage, they've agreed and to, if we have sometimes we have a big, like a 2-bedroom. We had this 2-bedroom condominium. It was the mom had passed away, so her daughter was just, wanted. A lot of people don't necessarily want to give something to Goodwill if they know there's a family that needs it.
Right.
And so she's like, come and take a look. And we had like 2 bedroom sets and the whole living room set. And so we had Metcalf come in with their big old semi.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And they picked everything up and took it to storage till we needed it for us.
No, that's great. I know when my dad passed away, I had to deal with all of his stuff. And that would, of course, that was 15 years ago, but that would have been fantastic to have something like that. Because there's a lot of stuff that's exactly what we did with it. We took it to Goodwill. We'd called the Salvation Army, and, we dropped stuff off. We took some to Savers and, just tried to split it up a little bit so that there's some benefit to others out of it. But, we didn't have anything like this. So,
so we're trying to get the word out more and more, too.
Yeah.
Bunk beds are big. Recently, we've had requests for twin over full bunk beds.
Yeah. Well, there used to be one right in that corner.
Oh, really?
Yep. There's one right in that corner. It's upstairs now. And as we move things around, we took a bedroom, and as we became empty nesters, we had 5 bedrooms that we now need 1. And, so we've got 1 spare room upstairs we kept. Otherwise, that's where the podcast studio came from. It was the boys' bedroom just a couple years ago or a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know. And sometimes, like, one of the churches didn't have a lot of resources to help, but it was a big church in town, so people would call that church if they didn't know who to give to, and then they would just connect them with me. So just all kinds of way to make the connections to help with the families.
Sure. So anybody in a church, is it fair to ask for that or mention that on this podcast? Someone that belongs to a church that's not involved with CarePortal to reach out and connect with you? Or
yes, we are always looking for more churches to join.
Okay.
And the biggest barrier is that a lot of churches are already doing a lot of good stuff.
Right.
And it's kind of intended, like, if you're involved with a church who does a lot of local outreach already, CarePortal can just help you do that. It's not like it shouldn't be thought of as something new, like another ministry.
Right.
It's really, if you're already trying to reach families in need locally, this is just a really, like...
Well, it's a great way to organize that and to let people in. I mean, the website and the app, instead of just calling churches going, do you have anybody that needs a bed? Do you have anybody that needs a bed? One after another. This can all come together then. And... yeah, that makes sense. And
say a church doesn't have a lot of resources, but has manpower and wants to go connect with families. If they start using CarePortal, they can now draw on the whole community to get funding to get the items so that they can, or that they can even go purchase them for the family.
Yeah, get their card and have their point person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that spread the load a little bit.
Yeah, right. Care sharing. So CarePortal is coining the term care sharing.
Okay. What is the website? Let's mention that. What is
I would recommend going to careportalolmsted.org.
Okay.
There's a CarePortal.org is the main website, but to really get involved in Olmsted County, CarePortal Olmsted, just all one word.
All one word.
And CarePortal is one word too, just FYI.
Yes.
But
yes, I was told that just this last week, as a matter of fact. Apparently I've been doing that wrong. So yes. CarePortalOlmsted.org. And from there you can get all kinds of information and how to sign up either as an individual or a church or a business. And you can also see there's a link to all the open requests. So if you just kind of want to see what people are needing right now or kind of what the stories are like. Sure. And then there's, if you can sign up right from there too.
And you'll automatically, if you sign up as an individual from that website, the CarePortal Olmsted.org, you'll automatically get associated with Olmsted County Community of Responders.
Okay.
So it's kind of its own little group. So if you're not part of a bowling team could sign up, or a softball team, or a golf team. Any community group, doesn't have to be a business, can sign up to be.
So like the Morning Lions could sign up as that.
Yeah.
In that sense.
So if you have a small group and you're interested in outreach and you want to know who really needs help, CarePortal can help. And it's all, you just the stories are what certain stories touch different people's hearts.
Sure, absolutely.
And that's what I've noticed. Some people always fund the car repair requests.
Yep.
At one time, there was a couple mediation. It was one family and a couple times needed some money for mediation, and someone that had gone through mediation themselves, that was the one who funded it.
Sure, someone understands the importance of it, or how it can affect, how it can be beneficial.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If that makes sense.
I will talk about my favorite request.
Sure.
Because it was, it's like the perfect CarePortal request in terms of this is what it's really all about. And I've developed kind of a relationship with the social workers, and not all of them, and I'll know their faces, but I know a lot of names and emails.
Right.
And a social worker, and sometimes we get each other's phone number. So the social worker texted me one day and said, "Do you ever help with a rent deposit?" And I said, yeah. It just depends on how much and how many people respond, in terms of whether it gets met.
Right.
Because not all requests get met. And I said a good story helps, just because that's what touches people.
Yep.
If you just say, this family needs whatever, it's probably not going to get met.
Yeah, right.
But tell me more. Well, why do they need it?
Yep.
So a couple hours later, I get this request into the system from her asking for $2,500 in 3 days. It was urgent. Because they can say whether a normal request, they ask for 7 to 10 days. Urgent is 3 days. And then there's a critical, which is 24 hours sometimes. I've had one of those.
Sure.
So $2,500 in 72 hours. I'm like, I never had a single request for $2,500 that we met, let alone in 3 days.
Right.
So I said a little prayer, and I engaged the community right away, which everybody gets notified anyway, but this is kind of an extra notification with some texts that I can add.
Oh, okay.
And within 17 hours, 15 people in the community raised $2,500, donated $2,500 for this family.
Wow.
So it was a single dad. The story was it's a single dad. His two kids were in foster care. He'd had some issues. He was doing all the right steps to get his kids back. And the last thing, and he had a job to pay for the rent, but he didn't have
savings for the deposit.
Yeah.
Yep.
He didn't have money.
Yep.
So I texted the social worker, "We got the money."
That is so awesome. Wow.
Well, half hour later, she goes, "There's a hiccup. The dad had a past felon, and he got denied. His rental application got denied because of this old felon." I was like, well, I can't stop there. First of all, I have all this money.
Right.
What can happen, this might be a question. If there is a request, people donate, and for whatever reason, the request kind of goes away, the need goes away, there is a way to refund the money, or you can just allocate it to another request.
Sure.
And so it kind of depends on what the person that gave the money would like.
I was just going to ask, is that, in that case, if that $2,500 hadn't gone to him then, and would you reallocate that without notification to the people that donated it? Or
kind of depends on how much. In that case, there was one person that gave a significant chunk of it, and I did talk to him about it.
Yep.
If it's, $25 or something. But the tool does let that refund. And someone, if they donate it, could actually say, if the need goes away, I want my money back.
Sure. Right.
That's an option.
Because they want to choose where it goes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, connections. I went to another social worker that I thought maybe has some insight about. Apparently, so I learned, because I learn a lot every day. There's a list of felon-friendly apartments in Rochester.
Yep.
Not ideal, I guess, but
Right.
it's an option. I called Next Chapter Ministries. They are one of our requesting agencies, and they all work with families impacted by the cycle of incarceration. And she's like, yeah, this is one of the biggest hurdles for people coming out of prison that really want to turn their life around.
Yeah.
They get denied lots of ways, and one of them is housing. And she found that they have the most luck with private landlords, not the big rental companies.
Yep, I bet.
So I know some private landlords from referral groups, and emailed all the ones I could think of. Nothing came through the first day, but then the second day, one of the landlords I texted said, hey, my friend, who's a landlord, just lost a tenant after 27 years.
Oh, wow.
And he's willing to rent to someone with a felon if we'll vouch for him. And it's like, well, I'll vouch for him. And my husband and I went with the dad to meet the landlord, to talk, just like make sure it's all kosher. And it turns out the landlord and the dad kind of knew each other from a Channel 1 distribution years ago, and remembered each other, and the rent and everything was a lot less than the other place, and it's in a good neighborhood. It's kind of like a flat over a house. The landlord lives right below, and 10 days later, that landlord even texted me to say what a good tenant he was and what a good job we're doing as a community.
That's awesome.
And now the kids, it's a whole process for getting your kids back.
Sure.
That I'm also learning. So he's in that process too. But more and more, it's just like, and I forgot to say, the request also said that he was looking for a community. He was looking for a good set of people too, which is what CarePortal offers. So 2 days after we met him, he came to our church because we were about a mile and a half away.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
He said God was speaking to him through the sermon that day, and he's brought his kids. His kids are awesome, and they're going to be joining the church. And that's just like that's what CarePortal is all about.
Right.
Is helping them, because he's got a long road.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a long road ahead of him.
He's going to need good people around him, so I'm really glad to hear that piece of the story. That's because it's so easy to fall back into whatever the old habits were, so that's...
because your old friends are, not necessarily good.
Maybe what got you into it in the first place.
And he said, and I've heard this, it's harder to stay sober than it is to get sober.
I would believe that.
And you just you need a whole new life and encouragement and people to believe in you.
Yep.
And that is the really, really cool part about CarePortal. It's not just about the fact that we gave them money.
Sure.
And so that when anybody provides $1, you can know that it's more than just that physical thing that we're giving them. Well,
there's a lot that, you would think, of course, if you need a bed, getting a bed is the biggest issue. I don't know that it is, listening to this. There's a lot that goes on and even just finding the person that needs something. It sounds like CarePortal is it helps you. It sounds like it really helps the churches who are already doing good things, helps them organize it and become more available between someone that wants to donate to the people that need to donate, having that, and the church is trying to facilitate that. It just sounds like almost a management
it's
process.
Really,
in a sense.
Yeah, it's really using technology to streamline the whole process and connect all the right people together.
Right. Because none of it happens without people. Even the fact once the money gets deposited, that's still just money deposited. It doesn't really help anybody until someone like yourself goes and buys the bed or delivers the bed or picks it up or whatever. That's fantastic. A
couple other points I haven't mentioned yet. So when you donate money, you immediately get, through the tool, an email receipt, tax receipt. Thank you for your donation to this nonprofit, 501c3. You can trust that someone is going to do, it's not just going to sit there. There's going to be someone take a lead locally. The fact that you get to pick the family, you get to pick the item, and 100% of your dollar goes to that item. Because one of the things that...
No administrative costs. Nothing gets skimmed off the top to... I don't mean skimmed like bad. But to pay for things. The process, the website, No, nothing like that.
Because CarePortal, in their amazing, forethought or whatever, how they structured the financial... All of the admin costs for CarePortal are handled totally separate. They're all from big companies that are giving grants or funding CarePortal or foundations that are providing grants.
So someone in CarePortal is out procuring funds to run CarePortal,
Yep.
but it doesn't come off of these requests at all.
Nope.
That's
Now, the
amazing.
requesting agencies, part of it comes from the requesting agencies since they're the ones benefiting. There is a small fee they pay to use CarePortal, but most of the administration, so for the tool, the app, the websites, the staff, the home office. So like I can get business cards and marketing material from the home office for free. I don't have to pay anything for it because they got some other.
Sure, they've got a
huge.
They've got a company that's doing that for them.
Yeah,
providing that,
which is so unique and awesome that I can tell everybody in Olmsted County, your 100% of your dollar goes to that family.
Yeah, that's impressive. Yep, that's impressive because that's so frustrating with so many charities when you look. If you really dig into where your money goes and you see these big percentages going into administrative costs, it's like, but being a business owner, someone has to take care of that. I mean that's not free. That's got to get taken care of too. So that's impressive. That's really, so. So we said CarePortalOlmsted.org. What's the app? I'm assuming it's available between Android.
Just CarePortal. Yeah, you just go out and look at, and the new logo is a C and a P. You'll see it on the website, but that's basically what the app icon looks like too.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's great.
So we have I got some numbers here since February of 2021, and these are also metrics that the tool measures. So in terms of how do we know?
Right. How do you know where it's?
How do we know what we're doing?
Right.
In Olmsted, we've met 480 requests in the last 3.5 years.
Wow.
Which has served 1,370 children.
Wow.
And that's
like one every 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's been accelerating.
Awesome.
Like every year it goes up. There's actually a chart on the website by year, so you can see things are just ramping up as more and more people hear about it. Like, you know, the gal you camped with.
Yep.
637 adults. I mean, some of these families are big, like 8 kids, 5 kids. Sometimes they're a mom with her own kids, and now she's also adopting, nieces and nephews for whatever reason. And
that happens
there's just
all
a lot
the
of
time.
kids. And then the tool tracks economic impact, which is primarily the value of the items being provided. And we always, when we close a request, we put in like how many volunteer hours it took to meet that request, so the value of that. And if in Olmsted County, there's a way in the tool that they can say, if we don't get this money, this child's going into foster care. And that rarely is used here. In other counties, it's used more often. But that if there's a request like that where we're trying to literally, like there's an immediate risk of foster care, then the value of meeting that request is higher because they take into account the cost of foster care. It costs $30,000 a year per child for the county to keep a child in foster care. $30,000.
And in not that long ago, a few years ago, I was my wife and I at the time were foster parents, and so familiar with that program. So, I mean, some of these sometimes are the social workers calling you to get, let's use beds as the example. That's one that comes to mind, and almost kind of fighting their own monster, because isn't the social services threatening to take these children sometimes because they don't have adequate things like a bed at home, and all of a sudden, so you've got a social worker trying to beat social services to the punch in a sense, so they don't take these children away. I mean, is that a fair assessment at times?
Well, what happens, I believe, is that when it gets to the real risk of a child being placed into foster care, then Child Protective Services gets involved. and they're also social workers.
Yeah, but separate division. Okay, so you've got one social worker trying to prevent it with another one.
So when CPS gets involved, the original social worker, if there was one, is like out of the picture then.
Okay.
And then the CPS social worker is the one that puts the request in.
Oh, so even CPS, Child Protective Services, will work with you before they just swoop in and not let a child go home or take one out of the home? Fantastic.
So the one urgent request we had was there was a 12-year-old girl that was walking across the street, walking her siblings home from school, and she got hit by a car. And she had injuries, and so she went to the ER, and they weren't too bad, so she was able to go home physically, but she didn't have a bed to sleep in. And CPS said but she needed it for healing because of her injuries. And an urgent request came in for a twin bed. Thankfully, we had one in storage. Oh. Otherwise.
So you were the difference on her being able to go home or not?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, that really is. If that doesn't grab you, I mean, I don't know what will. Yeah. That's amazing. That really is.
It's just like, this is real.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Real time, real needs.
Yeah.
Care sharing. Those are the taglines.
I like that.
Because it's really they want CarePortal would so Uber is to ride sharing. Uber kind of coined the ride sharing term.
Yep.
So CarePortal is trying to take the care sharing term.
Sure.
Because it's truly what it is. I mean, anybody in the community listening to this can go sign up on CarePortalOmstead.org and then start getting requests and responding to whatever one you want to.
Yep. Or go to the Google store or the Apple store.
Yep.
And just search CarePortal.
And get the app.
Now, will the app show you by county, or is there a way to log in by county there too?
Yeah, it looks very similar. Okay. If not identical, it's just, modified to fit the screen.
Sure, of course.
I would recommend if you're going to sign up to go to the website first, because if you go to CarePortalOmstead.org, you will automatically get associated with this Olmsted County group of responders as an individual. If you sign up through the app, you'll still be associated to Olmsted County, but you won't necessarily get notified unless I engage the community. It's kind of a weird sort of quirky thing right now.
I just know that the mobile services and apps are just taking over from home computers or desktops, laptops. So if you can sign up at home first or at work, do that and then get the app after you.
I mean, you can from your device go to the website.
Sure.
And sign up and then download the app.
Sure, absolutely.
That's just that would just work out. If you want to be kind of in an Olmsted County group.
Sure.
I can always I can move people over there too.
Okay.
So there's ways around it, but
yeah.
That way no one gets lost.
Yeah, we've got your hands full, so we'll encourage people to do it right the first time.
So the economic impact, I don't know if I said that yet. So I was explaining how it how calculates it. So for Olmsted County since February of 21, $357,000 in economic impact. That's the impact that we've had on the community.
That's awesome.
And I only have 2 data points, and it could change the next time I ask. But year to year, we had less kids in child welfare, we had less kids in foster care in Olmsted County, and less kids aging out of foster care. Yeah. So when a child is 18 and they're still in foster care, they age out. We went from 8 on average in 2000. In 2022, there was 8 that aged out, and in 2023, there was only 2 that aged out.
Awesome.
And there's not a lot of support for
so those kids have it tough. Those kids have it tough. Yeah.
Yeah. They are,
Yeah, absolutely.
kind of on their own.
Right.
And,
and not well prepared.
Very vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. It's nice to hear Child Protective Services reaching out, too, and not just...
Yes. They do. I heard in Olmsted County, they go out of their way more than other counties to keep the kids with the parents.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's incredible. I was adopted myself, so it kind of
I just recently realized that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's it's great to hear this because I mean, these kids they count on us. I mean,
So were you in foster care before, or you just from the hospital? Or?
Yep, literally went home with my adopted parents.
Yeah.
So from the hospital. So I was very lucky that way. Just incredible parents. So they're both gone now, but I mean, just couldn't ask for a better childhood that way. So I was very lucky. Yeah, very lucky. I think of that quite often, and I was fortunately. I don't know how to say this. I told them. I mean, so I told my parents how much I appreciated them, because I wasn't awesome as a kid, like a lot of kids.
Who was
right. But as even into my teenage years, where I think a lot of kids got more difficult, that being adopted really kept me grounded. I mean, just because you kind of realize that, boy, this, you look at what's out there, and it's like, boy, this could have went really, really terrible. And I haven't got a single thing to complain about. There's a time when you're younger and you're worried about the ones that didn't want you, and it's easy to focus on that. And it didn't take long for me to figure out, don't harass these folks. You should focus on the ones that want you, not the ones that for whatever reason didn't, So it's, but it's, it's something you got to wrap your head around, and to have these kids bounce around the foster care system, the foster care kids that we had when we were doing foster care, it was a challenge, and so sad because, some of these kids were really challenged, and they weren't old enough to even inkle that it was their fault. This is not. They were a product of their environment, and I don't want to be in the environment that produced that, because these kids had some real issues, and you do what you can to help, and it's really frustrating, to say the least. Mm-hmm. Rewarding, but frustrating, So I think it's great that, like, now as I get older, I'm really not the foster dad anymore. I don't have that in me anymore. I'm not I'm not young enough for that.
Tough.
I could be a foster grandpa maybe if that's a thing. but if there's other ways to help, and I think I'm probably obviously I don't think I'm alone in that, thinking, I want to do something, but I don't want to do that anymore.
Yes.
We aged out of that.
Right.
that piece.
Right.
So no, this is great, and the fact that you can take the technology and really help, like the churches they're already doing great things. But if we talked about this in the last podcast that we just did on Thursday, I was talking with John Radel and Jordan Whitcomb, and I said, talking small business more at that point, but I said, one motto I have lived by in business is, don't ever confuse effort with progress. And on the churches, not to say they're doing anything wrong, but they're putting in the effort. But it sounds like with your help, they can gain a lot more progress out of that effort, be a lot more efficient. And that's, that's what the whole, effort for progress. When you confuse the two, it's all about efficiencies, So
yeah, and the key metrics that it tracks automatically, so you even know as a church. I could tell you how many requests every church responded to.
Sure. Well, and when you talk about economic impact, I'm assuming this isn't calculated into that, because I don't know how you would calculate that. But what are the chances that what you're doing is really helping create engaged citizens as these kids get older, and the parents aren't worried about what the kids don't have, and the parents are engaged more. They're able to get to work, like you said, get a bike, fix a car. They've got a stable place. The kids have beds. The parents aren't dealing with as much anxiety. I mean, I'm sure there's still, tough road ahead, but when they become a responsible citizen, I mean, for lack of a better term, to really be able to be out there and be a contributing part of society. Those numbers, there's no way to measure that, but it's there. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, I know quite a few families that really, and they've, had multiple needs since we've known them, but they're making progress.
Yeah.
They got really good jobs, and, one of them just bought a house.
How awesome is that?
And the other one is like, she's got 9 kids.
Wow.
9 biological children.
Wow.
but teaching them how to garden. Her last request, she wanted a used KitchenAid mixer so that she could teach her kids how to cook. And she'd ask for some bikes because she wanted to, exercise. I mean, just have them exercise and get outside.
Right.
One year she wanted tents to go camping. And so people are like, oh, I have a tent. I got sleeping bags.
Yeah.
So it's so easy.
Well, how many of us have a shed or a storage unit that we're paying, to store stuff we're never going to use again that could be put to good use by someone?
Yeah, and it's, some people might say, well, that's not, I mean, a KitchenAid isn't preventing the child from going into foster care, but it's taking it, it's elevating their self-worth and teaching them life skills that they need to be successful.
I was just going to say life skills. Like, you're talking about someone who knows how to make a pan of muffins, to someone that doesn't. I mean, nobody's born knowing how to cook, how to, like I said, life skills. We all have to be taught that, so no, that's awesome. Well, we're closing in on an hour. Any closing thoughts, Denise, on today's podcast?
So, maybe for next podcast, but this topic, this aspect of it we were just touching on, where life skills, teaching life skills. So poverty, in a lot of cases, breeds poverty.
Absolutely.
I feel for the kids, though, even though we're helping them stay with their mom, like the parents don't know how to get out of poverty, and those kids aren't either. I mean, some of them are, like we were just talking, but the majority isn't. And so, I've been trying to think of how, and it's not just me, I've just kind of been sucking up ideas from others. Right. I'm good at that. I like to work on a problem that's a real problem that nobody knows how to solve yet. That's like, oh, I can figure this out.
Right.
I used to do that at IBM all the time. That's why I had so many jobs, because I'd migrate from one problem to another.
Sure.
And work and be able to distill out, make some complex topic kind of simplified. Right. And so, there's a growing ideas of, I'm calling it For Youth.
Yep.
Company I want to start to focus, to lift kids out of the cycle of poverty and addiction, because that's another issue for a number of reasons.
Right.
To teach them the life skills, to do job training, to offer them jobs, to also support, the existing nonprofits that, like Boys and Girls Club or Recovery's Happening or CarePortal.
Sure.
It's chapter ministries. I mean, there's already a lot of nonprofits that could also always use more help that are already doing it, but kind of connecting, working together, and focus on that next step.
Right.
And how do we change? It's kind of like, it's a social enterprise. There's a social mission associated with this, that we're trying to change society and leverage. I saw a quote as I've been starting to socialize this idea. Someone sent me a quote that said, "There's too much talent trapped in poverty."
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's
great. And so it's kind of focusing on how do we lift them out of that.
So many opportunities in life come from who you know. And like you said, poverty breeds poverty. There's not, in poverty, there's not a lot of who you know. I mean, there's
so many disadvantages.
Right.
They don't have access to good education all the time.
Right.
And it's not that the parents don't value education.
Right.
But a lot of times they're working night jobs or 2 jobs, making meets that they can't get as involved as other more privileged people can with their children's education.
Yep, absolutely.
And it just has this rippling effect.
Mm-hmm. No, I would definitely, as For Youth comes along, you and I have had a couple lunches and we've chatted about this, and so I've kind of got the inside track
on a logo
on what you're doing. Yep. So I'm excited for you, and I think this will be a excellent adventure for you, I think. So I would love to, once that's up and running, I'd love to have you back and talk more about that. But anything else? CarePortal, Olmsted.org, and then CarePortal on the apps. But sign up on the website, start there, and then get the app.
Yep.
So 17 open requests right now.
Yes.
So if you have any opportunity to help, now's the time. No better time than right now. Awesome.
There's always an open request.
Okay.
There happens to be a lot right now.
Well, again, Denise, thanks for coming out tonight and doing the podcast. I hope you had a good time.
Awesome. Yes.
And you'll come
Thank
back
you.
with For Youth when
I
we have a
definitely
little
will
more
be
news.
back.
Awesome. Great. Well, guys, say goodbye to Denise. We're going to see her again. Have a great night.